FDC's 2026-2031 Manifesto. They are fixing the economy and putting money in our pockets. Welcome back to my Manifesto series where I break down the different presidential candidates' manifestos. We have already covered the NRM Manifesto, the NUP Manifesto, and now we are breaking down the FDC Manifesto. If you have not yet watched the first two manifestos, please check on my page. They are there. Let's get into the FDC Manifesto. So their manifesto was broken down in essentially 5 pillars: generating employment opportunities, strategic investments, human capital development, leadership and governance, and then interest groups. Now, one of my favorite things about this particular manifesto is that they knew who exactly they were dealing with. So at the beginning of the manifesto, they made a summary of the commitments under each section, so that even when you have not read the whole document, you know what they are talking about and you know what they want to do. Their first pillar. That's what they want to do for you. Their second pillar. That is what they want to do. Their third. I'm putting them here so that you stop, pause, and read. Their fourth pillar. And finally, their fifth. But of course, I'm going to get into the actual details. Their first pillar was essentially creating employment opportunities. So essentially how they envision this is one, through agriculture. They identified that the agriculture sector is confronted with low production, low productivity, food losses, limited markets, and poor access to credit, among other things. The FDC government seeks to allocate 10% of the national budget to the agriculture sector, which is exponentially higher to the current amount of money that the government allocates to agriculture. Government only allocates 2% of its budget to agriculture. They want to allocate 10. Talk about government industrial zones, farmer centers, and prioritization of agricultural value to the crops. You could read it. You could read through. Talk about the fisheries industry, livestock production. They also hint on the trade and industry, stating that it's a great tool for employment accessibility, stating that they want to establish a progressive tax regime that is favorable for business people. They talk about industrialization in Uganda. They found a problem with the fact that over 66.7% of the energy produced in Uganda goes to the manufacturing industries. Yet it only contributes around 14% of the revenue collected. They were like, some of these frameworks need to change. So they seek to make infrastructure development a priority. And they also want to make deliberate interventions to support small local manufacturing services so that they don't struggle to compete with the importation of cheap, high-quality goods. We talk about oil, gas industry, but as well as tourism, highlighting that these are major sectors within Uganda that are still yet untapped. They also talk about infrastructure. They want Uganda to look prettier than it is. They said clearly the current government has failed to bring down the cost of construction and maintenance of roads, which remains the highest in the region. See that the current 6,338 kilometers of paved road, representing about 30% of the total national road network, does not justify the huge amount of investment in the improvement of networks in the past 40 years under the NRM regime. That is self-explanatory. What do they want to do? They want to build capacity within the Ministry of Works and Transport to lower the costs of infrastructure development, among other things. I found this one very interesting. I talked about the salary disparities within the country, a conversation we're constantly having, talking about how the current regime increased the salaries of science teachers from 1 million to 4 million, yet maintaining the arts teachers at 1 million in that particular year. So for them, they want to increase the salaries of the arts teachers. They didn't mention the actual figure, but they were like, we got you. They also have a national feeding school policy similar to the one in the NUP manifesto, but I'll create a whole different comparative video to compare them. They talk about how we're going to control Uganda's debt burden. And of course, they didn't forget the youth and the women of Uganda. They signed off with a very blue collage of images. And of course, they reminded you who they are. Remember, these are short summaries of what I found particularly interesting, but the documents are way more comprehensive and they touch on various topics. So take time to read them yourself. Till our next video. Bye-bye.